Okay, so this is my lesson plan final project. The IST standard that I chose is standard 1.3 knowledge constructor, and it states that students critically curate a variety of resources using digital tools to construct knowledge, produce creative artifacts, and make meaningful learning experiences for themselves and others. And then the reason I chose that standard is because I really wanted to do this benchmark, and this benchmark 1.3D, and it's exploring real-world problems. And it states that students build knowledge by actively exploring real-world issues and problems, developing ideas and theories, and pursuing answers and solutions. I really wanted to do this one because I think it's very important that students learn real-world problems and real-world struggles that are going on. I think it's important for them to know these so that when they move on throughout life, they're not just being introduced to them firsthand right away. They've learned these sort of problems and issues, and now, if they do their own work on it, they got potential to be smarter in the future. For the learning objective, it says that students will research a current environmental issue affecting a certain area or population, and then they will create a slideshow or presentation that educates others on how to fix this issue. So the environmental issue could be something such as pollution or global warming or something like that. For the anticipatory or warm-up set, for this particular topic, I would show a news clip or a video from the internet that shows an area of high pollution. And I would make sure that the video provides many different examples of pollution. And then following that video, I would ask all students to list down at least 3 different types of pollution shown during the previous video and what damages they think each pollution may cause. Just kind of just get the class going, and it's relevant to the topic, and it'll get the brains working. And then for direct instruction, I would give a lot of different things. I honestly think the main thing for them would just be for me to provide different examples for them that they could choose at the beginning of their project. So different types of pollution and stuff like that. So give them an outlook or different examples that they could use. I think first I would show each student how to access the reliable sites such as Google Scholar and Gale. And then I would also make sure that they know how to identify which sites are reliable and which sites aren't. And they'll do this by using the CRAP checklist, which is currency, relevance, authority, accuracy, and purpose. And then I would provide examples of what they could use to propose their solutions, such as different videos or flyers and stuff like that. And then for the guided practice, start off, I would have the entire class look up the same environmental problem from the same area. And then after they research that for a few minutes on their own, I would have them break up into small groups and discuss these different solutions or scenarios and figure out how this problem could be fixed. And then whilst these students are working in their groups, I would make sure to go around to each of them, just make sure their conversations are on task and that they're headed on the right path. Um, Following the guided practice will be the independent practice, and this is where the students will now have the tools that they need to begin making their own individual projects. And they can use any form of presentation they want. They just need to be able to meet all of the requirements that will be shown on the assessment page a few slides down. Um, the students will have to choose a different issue than the ones that we've previously talked about in class, and then they will be provided with a rubric specifically stated what is needed from them. For closure, following the completion of their own individual projects, students must complete a ticket out of the door activity on a small piece of paper or post-it note. And this is just for them to write down 2 things he or she has learned while researching their topic that they may have not already known. So that gives me an idea that they actually did learn something throughout this lesson. And for the assessment, the students will be assessed on the following: the relevancy of their topic, the clarity of the topic, if the sites they used were appropriate, how creative and effective their presentation was, the quality, the accuracy, and the delivery of their presentation. And then the materials needed is computer, writing utensil, notebook, classroom, obviously, and then a rubric and a notebook, and a rubric and then Wi-Fi network. Thank you.